who would you like to caddy for in 2025? Like if we were setting this season up to say, hey, we're going to have some bucket list loops, or if we were going to have the answer be the answer we want to be for the question we get asked all the time, who's the most famous person you've ever caddied for?
Mm-hmm.
Who would I like those people to be? Who are some notable people that other people have heard of that I'd like to caddy for? Hello and welcome to the Caddie Tales Podcast. I am Mark the Caddy, joined as always by Nick, my sidekick, my colleague, my looper and friend. We are excited to talk to you as we kick off 2025 with our first episode of the year about how the beautiful game of golf intersects with this crazy game called life that we're going to be living over the next 365 days. Happy New Year, Nick.
Happy New Year, Mark. Another year on the books, and then here we are talking about golf again. Gotta love it.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same, or at least they get simpler. The older I get, the more I'm just happy and content with my little bubble of things that make me happy. And certainly being able to caddy and be out at golf courses is something that just fills my bucket tremendously. And, one of the things that we're going to be experiencing now is we have this rhythm of life as Whistling Straits caddies that we are ready to be done as we near the end of the year. October is kind of a blah month for us, and it's kind of counting down the days. Your body's tired. You maybe have fatigue for just being on all the time. The weather starts to turn. So everybody's very happy to be done. There's very little sadness in the caddy shack that the season is ending.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the guys who get to go off to other locations. Yeah. They're excited to get there. Even the guys who stay around here and work other jobs, I think that they've accepted or enjoy the freshness of things. Okay. So you have that. And then a lot of people like me, I'm working, but it's a lighter schedule. And so November and December, I love being able to be around my house for the holidays and have a little more family time. So that's great. But come January, now I think we're going to start seeing the texts kick up amongst people about how they're ready to get back out there.
Yeah. I'm certainly one of them. I'm ready to be done with my current job and go back to caddying. I'm missing it a lot right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that it's such a beautiful life we get to live, and the anticipation of what to be is part of it. Like it happens on a daily basis, even for us. Like you're driving up, and it's not like you working where you're working now at the grocery store warehouse where you have a set task that's going to be pretty much the same every single day.
Yeah.
You know what to expect when you go in, and there might be things that break or a person who doesn't show up and makes it hard, but the actual day is the same. And a lot of people have those kind of jobs. We have the same kind of task, but you don't know on that day, are you going to have a scratch golfer? Are you going to have some handicapper that, you're going to walk 15 miles for? Is it going to be, grinders? Is it going to be people who are just hammered and having a good time? There's wide variances on the way the day goes. And you don't know on most days what it's going to be when you walk up to that bag drop to meet your players. Ideally, we'd be able to pick it out. And that's what I want to talk about today is who would you like to caddy for in 2025? Like if we were setting this season up to say, hey, we're going to have some bucket list loops, or if we were going to have the answer be the answer we want to be for the question we get asked all the time, who's the most famous person you've ever caddied for? Who would I like those people to be? Who are some notable people that other people have heard of that I'd like to caddy for? Because, it'd be, sure, who would we like to caddy for in 2025? I'm sure, like, if a buddy from my past came, that would be cool and whatever. But I'm talking about, like, people others have heard of. And so that's who I kind of thought of. And I have a pretty I don't know. I like my list that I came up with. I came up with 5 people, and each one of them has some similar traits, but each one of them made the list really for a very different reason from the other, or for a particular characteristic that I think they would bring to the golf course. Okay. Yeah. So why don't we get started on that? You have some people you want to talk about today too, Nick?
I do. I was going to ask if, so the characteristics of making up the list, when I was making mine up, I kind of was considering like how good of a golfer they were. I don't know if you considered that as well.
Not even a little bit. No.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't why I would want to caddy for them. I mean, a couple of them are good golfers.
Yeah.
Starting with my first one.
Okay.
And you know who I'd love to caddy for? A professional golfer.
Yeah.
But if I was to pick one professional golfer, the one that I want to caddy for, my bucket list caddying experience would be John Daly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think that would be one of the most interesting, fun, confusing, amazing days of my life. You know, did you see, by the way, the video going on as he rung in the new year by hitting a golf ball like over a freeway?
I did not see that.
Yeah, he's just out in the road, I think in bare feet, cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he teed it up, and I think he was hitting it across the expressway or something like that. I saw it a few times. So he's just a free spirit. You know, I saw a video of him recently, and I think this would be really cool. Obviously, John Daly is so good. I think Tiger Woods once said about how if John Daly had his work ethic, how he'd be the best golfer ever. You know, just a naturally gifted man. And I guess we could have a whole show talking about his vices and how they may have stunted some of his winnings. But, you know, I think he's become a pretty beloved figure later in his career. And anyway, he's great at golf. He's super talented. But I saw this video recently where he's playing. He's in a cart. I don't know who was with, whatever. But man, he just gets out. His ball's right there, and he just swings the club. There is very little thought. There's very little. There's no warm ups. There's nothing. There was the video last week that was going on the internet that he was at the driving range. Did you see this one where he hit one ball?
Oh yeah, I did see that one. Yeah, I think. Did you post that one? Maybe. Yeah,
that's what I posted. Okay. That's what that kind of sparked what I wanted to talk about today. Because I'm like, man, I would kill the caddy for him. Yeah. And then there was some guy who commented on my post, kind of like he's like, I'll make it happen, and you're like, does this guy have any pull? I'm like, I don't think so, but he kind of the reply comes across like he does.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But he hits one ball and he's like, I'm good. Yeah. And we've got people that were like trying to drag off the range because their tee time starts in a minute and a half. Absolutely. And they think hitting that one last ball is going to make or break their round.
Yeah, I call them the last minute crammers, like the people that are cramming for tests and stuff. Yeah.
Now, John Daly, I think, like, I'm just as fascinated by his stories of imbibing alcohol I'm just as fascinated by how many Diet Cokes he can drink on a round. You know, I wonder what's more common for him, to have a round where he's just smoking and drinking Diet Cokes, or when he just goes all in and he's drinking whatever his libation of choice is.
I think he probably drinks like the Diet Cokes while he's playing professionally for money, and then probably in his free time probably drinks recreationally.
Right. So John Daly would be I would imagine the stories that he would have to tell would have you rolling. Yeah. I mean, I bet you he's got some of the craziest things he's done with fans while he's been out on the tour, crazy establishments he's been in. Yeah. Probably some stories about him and women that would make me come home and hug my daughters tight and let them know that daddy loves them. And so, yeah, we've got that. So, all right, Nick, hey, give me somebody that you'd like to caddy for.
Mine would be Tiger Woods. Obviously a very good player, but I would want to know about his off the course antics. You know, he had a little wild side as well.
But I don't think he'd be as willing to tell as John Daly would. Do you?
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like that's part of the deal, though. You know, you're out there with them, and you know, it's off the record. Whatever people tell us is off the record, right? For the most part.
Yeah, right. I don't think our employer would be very happy with us if we caddied for one of these big names and they came out and talked to us all this, and then we have a podcast, you know, outing them, and next thing you know, they've got some civil suit from some woman or something like that because of things we air on our podcast. So yeah, it would be off the record for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it would be memories embedded in our head for a long, long time. Tiger would be I mean, obviously he's
great player
in our lifetime for sure, the greatest golfer that's existed, and he's lived a fascinating life. I hear the story though. You know, a serious guest I want on is that caddy of his at the 1990 U.S. Junior Am that was circulating this last week. The guy who looked like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Or I'd love to hear Tiger talk about how that happened, how that all worked out. So, that's crazy. Yeah. All right, here's another one for me. I'm pretty sure not a golfer, but he's kind of taken the entertainment world by storm, and that would be Jelly Roll. I would love to caddy for Jelly Roll.
Yeah, I don't get what the fascination is with Jelly Roll. I guess I don't know enough about him.
I think he is, and his music right now, it kind of articulates the Caddie Tale message more than anybody out there. You know, he lived a rough life, got himself into a lot of trouble, did a lot of drugs, all that. And he's really turned it around and not only found success, but I think he's trying to live a more decent and healthy life. But a lot of his music is that story of redemption.
Okay.
And I don't know how deep his religious connection to that message is. I did see him at the Country Music Awards singing a song with Brooks and Dunn that was very Christian in its tone and message, but I don't know what he practices or doesn't practice or any of that. I really don't know, but I know that the undertones of his message have a very clear redemption story kind of tone to it. And I think that's transcendent, regardless if people are religious or not. What we're trying to help them understand is that message of there always being hope, there always being a next shot, there always being a future to go towards rather than a past that negatively defines us. And as I listen to his music, I hear that come across loudly and clearly. And so I don't know that he could walk 18 holes, although he has lost about 100 pounds, if I'm understanding correctly.
Wow. Dang. Yeah. It's definitely not at our course. Maybe like a 4 caddy or something like that. That's right.
Yeah. But no, I think he'd be great. Now he'd look pretty different with the face tattoos, and I'd love to see the golf get up that he has on and stuff, but he'd look a little different than our normal clientele. But hey, that's kind of cool too. We don't need everybody who's wearing Peter Millar and you know, looking like they're running a hedge fund. It's okay to have some different looking folks. So Jelly Roll would be absolutely great, and I think that he is very real. I also think of all the people that I'm mentioning, well, no, John Daly would probably be pretty great too, because he's kind of a free roller. I think Jelly Roll would be a pretty great tipper, because he strikes me as the guy who really appreciates where he's at in life and makes it kind of his mission to pay it forward to other people. And I think he would be like, hey, I'm with this common man, I'm going to make his day. All right. And rather than pay a fee, so to speak. So yeah, Jelly Roll. You got anybody else?
Yeah, I got coincidentally also a musician, Vince Neil, former lead vocalist for Motley Crue. I watched that movie The Dirt on Netflix, and I thought their stories were incredibly interesting, and I'd like to hear some from him.
Yeah, so I think the common link here is we're going to have some people out on this golf course that are going to tell us some stories. We might have to cover our ears for. Man, I don't know if we're ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You want somebody that's going to have some interesting stories, obviously, right? Like, you don't want to be telling all the stories the whole time, especially me. But, yeah, that's something that I want.
Yeah. All right. I think that would be pretty cool. Is the dirt about golf, or is it about Motley Crue?
No, not about golf. I don't know how good of a golfer he is at all. He might not even play. So.
There's who is it? Is it, Alice Cooper, I think, is the.
Oh yeah, he's a big golfer. Yeah.
Yeah, who I think is the big golfer. So he'd be cool to have too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Here's another one for me. I think becoming more of a household name. I don't know if everybody knows him, but Shane Gillis, the comedian, he would be on my list. Yeah. And you know what? Where he cemented his role. Not only do I think he's funny. But he cemented his role just recently when he was the guest picker on College Game Day. Yeah, and he gave your beloved Nick Saban a hard time. And Nick Saban was the epitome. I think Nick Saban is showing more of his good personality on Game Day. Okay. Yeah. But in the interaction that he had with Shane Gillis, Nick Saban came off as the stereotypical uptight golfer with no sense of humor or ability to laugh at himself.
Yeah. I think he was pretty cool with it. Was it when he called him like Alabama Jones or whatever?
Yeah, he called him out, but he also, Shane Gillis insinuated that Alabama cheated and paid players in the past, and now everybody can do it, and so that's why Alabama's not winning every game.
Oh, okay.
And Nick Saban didn't, ha it off. He's like, he said, we developed players. That's how we cheated. And then I saw an interview that Nick did with Pat McAfee a few days later where it was clear he hated Shane Gillis. And yeah. And so I thought, okay, Shane knows how to poke the bear. He knows how to speak truth to power. And I'm picturing the pretentious golfers, so to speak. Like, okay, I get it. There's golf etiquette and things like being quiet and stuff like that. But I admit, I'm 6 years done with this gig, and when a guy who's a high handicapper shooting 100 acts like it's because somebody sniffled during their backswing is the reason they sliced it, I have zero patience for that, and find it to be just behavior.
Yeah,
and I think Shane Gillis would have a field day with that kind of behavior out there.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he's got like no filter at all. He's I've seen him on a few podcasts. He's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, and like just gosh, can you picture him on the greens when there's a putt that comes down to something for money? Just him getting into people's heads. Yeah. These people who are already head cases, and he's just there needling them. Or if they do something like, gosh, slip down a hill or what, can you imagine him mimicking them or mocking them? That'd be just so wonderful. Be a lot of fun. So, Shane Gillis would be on the list. Anyone else for you, Nick?
Yeah, I've got next one is Tony Romo. I mean, he's obviously a good player, so good commentator. Was a former quarterback for the Cowboys. Probably has some interesting stories. He dated some notable ladies. I think Carrie Underwood, Jessica Simpson. So I mean, I think he checks off a lot of the boxes for me.
Yeah. Okay. I think there was talk, and I don't know if there still is, that he, maybe was good enough to someday play on the Champions Tour.
Yeah. I don't know. I know he's tried out for the state qualifier and state amateur and stuff like that in our state. So I think that's pretty cool.
He is, one of the better. I've heard of like John Smoltz. That's one who I think Tiger Woods says John Smoltz is the best, athlete golfer he's played with. But Tony Romo has kind of been talked about in that stratosphere. But it tells you Tony Romo and John Smoltz would be amongst probably the 10 best golfers we have in a year. And it tells you how amazing the professional golfers are, that they wouldn't even sniff that stratosphere.
Yeah, it's such a different talent level, and yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah. I think, a lot of these professional athletes, it's interesting to be with them to see how they handle, they played a sport where they were dominant, even the worst NFL player for most of their life was dominant, certainly growing up.
Yeah.
And now you put them out with golf, and no matter what caliber they are, they're not the best at it. And so how do they handle that? My experience has been generally pretty positive with that. But I've never been with a pro athlete who I would say is great. I would say the NHL players that I've been with have been, have had real talent or whatever. So, but I've had some other like football players who are, golf's not their game, and they handle it pretty cool. But speaking of football players, next on my list is perhaps the greatest American living today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan Campbell.
Oh,
Dan Campbell.
Okay.
I mean, is there a more likable human being in the world right now, Nick?
Yeah, certainly not you.
Seriously, even people who don't like the Lions or are fans of another team, you know what every single one of them tells me?
What?
I like your coach.
Yeah, I know. He's pretty likable, to be honest.
Yeah, and he just seems cool.
Yeah.
He seems to, dot all the I's and cross all the T's. He's intense, but he's very relatable. So he's not like intense Bill Belichick, but he seems like the worst human being in the world when he's up there giving a press conference. Dan Campbell's able to be intense, but also seems like a guy you want to go hang out with.
Yeah.
He's, a player's coach, but also when they commit a penalty, it looks like they also might need to hide from him. He's the perfect balance. He's got it all. He's everything. And you're blinded because you like the Packers and you guys are hurt that you're not going to win the division and you're hurt there's a new sheriff in town and all that kind of stuff. And so you can't see what's obvious, but he's the greatest American living today.
Yeah.
And
I have a question. Do you think he would be like the club snapping kind? Like I could see him getting pretty PO'd on the course.
I could see him doing it all. I could see him snapping a club. I could see him drinking more than we've ever seen anyone drink out there before.
Fair.
I could see him also telling tons of jokes and telling great stories. I think you get it all because, again, he's so well-rounded. He's got it all.
He checks a lot of boxes. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, but the thing that the reason why I really, really want him is because of his wonderful ability to focus and keep the main thing, and also to not make excuses. The Lions this year are truly decimated by injury. That's not a subjective opinion. It is an objective reality that the team they started training camp with is not the team that they are about to play the biggest regular season game in decades with. And but he has not made one excuse. Yeah. He has embraced it. He has absolutely embraced the challenge. Like, he had every middle-aged man in Detroit this last week ready to run through a wall when he was giving his post-game presser after the Niners game, just talking about, this is what you live for, man. This is what fairy tales are about. This is what dreams are made of. I love the joy. I love the enthusiasm. I love a guy who knows how blessed he is. And so, see, that's the difference between a lot of golfers that I'm talking about here, because I think a lot of them take it very seriously. But I think a lot of those same people who are laser focused don't do a very good job articulating the joy or articulating the blessing. And they come across a little bit entitled at times. I think Dan Campbell absolutely you said he checks the boxes. And what a dream it would be to talk to him and just talk about what it was like growing up there in Detroit and how also what this means to the people there. It does mean something different to Detroiters than when another team is good. So he'd be huge on my list.
Yeah, and he played in the NFL too. So, he's got that. He was probably an awesome player at that level.
one last one that I have on my list is Donald Trump. Okay, I'm going to say it right now. I know some listeners love him, some listeners hate him, and there he is, Nick. But those of you watching on YouTube can see that he's sideways. But yeah, Donald Trump would be there, and it has nothing to do with politics, okay? That is not why I would want Donald Trump to be on my list. And so hopefully those of you listening can hear this in a nonpartisan way. And I'm not even, kind of speaking to anything about him. The reason why I would want him is I'm really curious to see what his game is really like. I've seen so many reports about it, and I've also heard him talk about it. I think one of the funniest moments, no, not one of the funniest, the funniest moment of the last election was how him and Joe Biden, tried to keep their cool and were obviously coached well during the debate. And Trump obviously was given tons of advice about staying cool. But then when golf handicaps came up, it was like, this is where we're really going to rumble. Okay. So it's something that Donald is very passionate about. I see his granddaughter is as well. Maybe she could come along for the ride. But I've also read stuff where, they say he's a cheater, but I've read stuff where they say he's really good. I wonder if it's a little bit of both. This is my suspicion, is you would have Donald Trump on the green and you'd read a putt for him from, say, 8 feet. He misses it. And he would probably not have a hard time telling the caddy he missed the read and giving himself the putt, saying he would have made it if his caddy would have given him a good read. That's my suspicion about how he might roll. But, I'm not 100% on that. But, he looks like he can still hit the ball. He obviously loves to get out there. And he's an ambassador for the game of golf, whether you like him or not. And, I think it would be a pretty fun, interesting experience. Nick, welcome back here. You are sideways as we are looking at you, but there we go. All right. I added that I wanted, after Dan Campbell, Donald Trump, and shared some reasons why. But why don't we close out by hearing who else you had that you'd love to caddy for in 225 so that they make their way to the course?
I picked Bill Murray. He's pretty lighthearted. It's pretty funny. He was in one of the greatest caddy movies of all time. Seems like a pretty decent golfer too, honestly.
Yeah, obviously an iconic figure in the caddy world. So, maybe we should have Adam Sandler as Happy Gilmore comes out this year. Maybe get his caddy from the movie. A lot of people were making the connection between him and Tiger's junior caddy. So that, there's so many people we could add. But the people I had on my list I just think there's something interesting to learn about each one of them, or some interesting characteristic they have. No matter who we have to come, though, this year, like I said, we are in that period of the year where we're starting to get excited about it. I want to say this. We just mentioned famous people that we'd like to caddy for. But really, if I had my druthers on most days, who I like caddying for is Joe from Chicago and Jim from New York or whatever, the everyday people that we get out there who've been saving all year in a lot of cases, who have been planning for a long time, who've had this on their bucket list, who have that joy I was talking about. Those are the people that I really look forward to seeing out there. So, we hope if you're listening, you might give us a try. You might consider coming out to Whistling Straits this year, booking a time. We know it's pricey. We know not everybody can. Go on my Twitter and, there's promos that I run trying to give away as much free golf as I can to people so that we can make it a realistic thing for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to come. So, we look forward to the opportunities that we have, that we get to caddy for you. Yesterday, I asked the question on my Twitter poll, like what golf trips people have planned, and there was a ton of interaction. And somebody asked me if I had anything planned, and I'm like, no, I don't, because like in the summer, I want to be there for people's golf trips. That's what fills my bucket. You know, I love being a part of it. I get to be a part of something really special. All right, Nick. Hey, looking forward to 2025 with you. Hopefully this technical difficulty we experienced was our one glitch in this mission for the year, but we made it work as, you know, we always do. Before we close, you know, one of the goals we have is that we want to walk alongside people, not only with their golf bags, but with the heavy baggage they carry in life, and help lighten those loads. Did you have any opportunities over the last week where you were able to meet up with somebody who maybe needed a little hand up?
I feel like I've been the one with the heavy baggage lately, Mark, and it's been hard to like focus on other people when I'm trying to, you know, kind of take care of my own stuff. But I guess maybe that's what I need. You know, I need to help other people in order to make myself feel better. So
yeah, well, that's something I learned in the recovery community, is that, you know, service to others is really something that we need to do. It you know, one, there's always people in need, and we help them because of that need. But two, it's helps us get outside of our head, outside of ourselves, see the bigger picture, see some things that we might not otherwise see. So I encourage you to look for those opportunities. For me, this last week has been focused on my home front. Sometimes we're just a servant and a leader in our home, and I wish I'd have done a better job, but stomach distress has run its way through my house in a tremendous way this last week. And actually, I've done this whole podcast right now. You may not realize it, hoping not to have an issue. I've been up since 3 a.m. with some real problems, and we made it. But you know, I've just kind of had to be here. This is like my third little bout of something. And my wife had it, my kids, yesterday, the last kid to get it got it, and she got it bad. And so we've kind of been there for each other, kind of lifting each other up when it's the other person's turn. But today I'm just fasting the whole day because I am feeling tremendously unwell. So hopefully this is our little bout with this, and we're smooth sailing for 2025. But we want to thank those of you who've started your 2025 with us, and we look forward to being along with you on this journey. And it's a beautiful journey, because you know what? There's a perfect, beautiful message that is real. And that is that along the way, there's going to be missed shots. We're going to find ourselves in bunkers. We're going to have divots. We're going to have shanks. We're going to be in the mess and in the junk. But as long as we're on this side of the ground, no matter what, no matter how bad it seems, there's always a next shot full of hope and opportunity. So take yours.